Hey guys, welcome back to Initial Assessment with Doc. And today we're talking about Punisher Red Band issue number 1 by Benjamin Percy, Julius Ohta, and coming from Marvel Comics. So you get a Frank Castle who wakes up in the middle of a blaze, and you're not really sure what's going on, neither is he. But you see that he knows what he has to do. And it says, what he does next is no different than yanking a hand away from a hot stove, pure instinct. So he goes and he attacks these Coast Guards that are coming to check out this other ship that's on fire, other than the one that he's on. The artwork by Ohta is top-notch. I'm not going to argue that. It looks amazing. It's kind of dark on the colors, but it's supposed to be nighttime, so I get that. You don't want to watch a TV show on your big HD TV, your 4K TV, and end up brightening things up to the point where they don't look natural. You don't necessarily want to darken them down to where they don't look natural either, but it does look awesome. Julius is putting 110% behind his artwork here. But the more interesting story to me is you have a priest in Queens, and he ends up talking to none other than Wilson Fisk. So if Wilson Fisk can take the time to come out of, the shadows to talk to you in a confession booth, you've done something terribly, terribly wrong. And that's what he says. He says, I've already delivered a portfolio of the evidence to the diocese and to the NYPD. They'll be arresting you first thing in the morning. And I'm not going to tell you what happens to him, but it's not good. And another one of these red band sections showed Tombstone, and I can't really show you anything. Well, I guess I could show you this part right here, and you get to see Tombstone in all of his fancy garb. And, Lonnie Lincoln has long been one of the main characters, both the Marvel Universe and the Spider-Man universe. And he would make for a perfect villain here. He really would. Then you get to see Frank wake up, and a lady named Judy picks him up and brings him into her house. And he says he needs a lighter and needle and thread. So now we're getting into some of the darker artwork. That almost has like a John Romita Jr. feel to it, both of those panels, because of the depth of the shadows that you see. And then the next couple pages, you can't really show anything because it's not terrible, but it shows him stitching his wounds up, cauterizing things, pulling the bullet out. And then you get to see Kingpin building up his section of universe, and he's unfortunately killed a young lady in the process. And then you get to see Tombstone and one of the guys working for him, and they're literally taking people that they've taken out as villains, to clean up Tombstone's street and consolidate his power, and they're turning them into sausage casings. So you've got that. Now, the twist at the end I did not like. And I don't want to spoil it, but Frank can't remember who he is. And there's a reason for that. I'm not going to go into that, but there's a reason for that. And one of these characters is possibly controlling him. I will say that. And I just didn't like that. That's the only part of this that I didn't like. It's all out action, balls to the wall type of thing. But what I didn't like is that Frank is not his own man. Frank needs to be the solo Punisher. He needs to go out there and take out bad guys. He needs to come across Darkhawk, Spider-Man, Daredevil. He needs to interact with those types of characters. I get, based on the story, why this character is trying to manipulate Frank, because he's the perfect character to do it. But I just didn't like that twist. I don't like Frank being controlled by angels or devils. I don't like Frank being controlled by anybody other than Frank Castle and his moral code, which is twisted. But he needs to be just Frank Castle. He doesn't need to be anybody's weapon. He doesn't need to be a weaponized Punisher. The only weaponized Punisher that we need in this book is Frank being himself, going out there and taking care of the trash. So, in initial assessment, I'm going to give it a C. C minus. Because I enjoyed the artwork and I enjoyed the story up until the very last couple of pages, and I just don't get behind that twist. So, if you like the Red Band stuff, it does have some blood and gore in it, but it's not any worse than the Max stuff that they used to make. So, check it out if you want to, but if not, then I would say give it a pass. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you in the next video.